The kind of hope that doesn't announce itself, doesn't make speeches, just keeps the lights on and the monitors beeping and the hands moving. The kind that lives in IV bags and adjusted pillows, and the particular patience it takes to explain to a scared parent, for the third time, in plain language, that their child is going to be okay. Dr. Imani Osei has been awake for 19 hours. She doesn't look it. That's the thing about her. Exhaustion is just weather she walks through. Dark eyes, sharp, present, like sleep is optional, and she decided it is. 34 years old, 11 years as the best pediatric attending this hospital has ever hired. The hospital rewarded her with double shifts, 4 extra cases she hasn't documented, and a department chief who calls her by the wrong name, in meetings, repeatedly. Not because he doesn't know it, because he doesn't care to. His name is Dr. Frederick Crane, 61, white, the kind of confident that never had to be earned, the kind that was installed at birth and maintained by proximity to other men who never had to earn it either. But that's not tonight's story. Not yet. Tonight, Imani is checking on a boy named Marcus, 7 years old, asthma, responding beautifully, currently drawing his dog with the serious face of a professional. The dog's name is President. She has admired President for 6 full minutes. She has promised to show the drawing to her own dog. Her dog is a cat. His name is Mango. Some kindnesses require small sacrifices of literal truth. She's charting. Then the elevator dings. The night shifts. She doesn't see it happen. She feels it. The quality of sound changes. A held breath feeling. The particular silence that replaces ordinary noise when something wrong has happened. Her pen stills on the chart. Overhead crackle. Code situation. 3rd floor. She is already moving. She doesn't know yet what she's moving toward. She doesn't know her life is about to split. Before and after. Clean, permanent. She doesn't know about the man sitting in the private consultation room on the 3rd floor. 2 hours in a chair. Hands very still. Face doing nothing. Watching his son breathe. She just knows a child is in trouble. She is the one who answers. What happens next is fast and then permanently slow. The way things are when they become the story you tell for the rest of your life. She rounds the corridor to room 314. Nurses clustering. Monitors spiking. A boy, about 9. Dark hair. Face that should be sleeping. Isn't. Oxygen levels doing things they should not be doing. She goes in. The room smells like antiseptic and something sweet underneath it. Someone brought in a stuffed bear. It is sitting on the bedside table, watching all of this with glass eyes. She notices this the way she notices everything. Fast, filed, moved past. Medication error. She identifies it in 4 seconds. Because she has seen it before. Because her mind works like that. Fast, clean, without panic. She calls the correction. She administers the override. Her hands move with the specific certainty of someone who has done this enough that her body knows the way before her mind finishes the thought. She stays, present, certain, until the monitors agree with her. 11 minutes, then steady. The nurses around her breathe again. She can hear it, that collective release. The room decompressing. In the corridor after, her hands are not shaking. That's the thing about being good at something. The shaking waits. It comes later. In a bathroom or a car or a kitchen at midnight, when the body finally presents the bill, with interest. She's writing the incident report when she becomes aware of someone very still beside her. She doesn't look up immediately. People stand at stations all the time. Then, she registers the quality of the stillness, and looks up. He is standing 2 feet away. Not a patient, not staff, or rather he is family of the patient. But that isn't what he is first. What he is first is a man who takes up space without trying. The stillness isn't peace. It's something trained, something kept. Dark hair silvered at the temples, a face made of controlled angles, eyes on her with an expression she doesn't have a word for. Not gratitude, too complicated for that. Not assessment, too warm. My son. His voice is low, Korean accented, calibrated. The way people sound after years in rooms where precision matters. Room 314, she says. Not a question. Yes. She looks at him properly now. He is not as composed as he appeared. Something is happening just under the surface. A man who came very close to something he wasn't prepared to feel, holding himself very carefully until he can process it privately. She recognizes this. She has seen it on parents' faces 1,000 times. He's stable. Her voice is clean and certain. The medication interaction was caught early. He'll sleep well. Ready to go home by morning. The man closes his eyes. 1 second. Something that is not composure. Then he opens them. Thank you. 2 words, the kind that only come from meaning them completely. She nods, returns to her report. He doesn't leave immediately. She can feel him standing there. Still, not intruding, just present. Like someone who doesn't know how to leave a room where something important just happened. She says without looking up. He's going to be fine. I know, he says. I heard it in your voice when you said it. She looks up then. For just 1 fraction of 1 second, something passes between them. Like current through water. Then her pager goes off, and she goes. She doesn't think about him again that night. She doesn't have room to. He thinks about her for a very long time. His name is Ryu Seonghyun. In this city, that name opens certain doors. Closes certain conversations. Makes certain men rearrange their schedules on short notice. In rooms where people keep their voices down, it gets said carefully. Like a word with an edge. 42 years old. An empire built not from ambition exactly. From fury. The specific kind that comes from watching people he was responsible for treated as expendable. Not a good man in the simple sense. Something more complicated. A man who has drawn his own lines, lives within them, does not apologize for where they fall. His son's name is Daeho. 9 years old, asthma, an excellent memory, an opinion about every food he has ever eaten, detailed, unprompted, delivered with the conviction of someone who considers taste a moral category. His mother died 3 years ago, from an illness that moved faster than anyone could stop it. Ryu Seonghyun has not remarried, has not dated, has done nothing in 3 years that wasn't about his son or his work. In roughly that order. With the occasional exception of situations that required him to make a very specific kind of phone call, and then not discuss it afterward. He has been running an empire. Raising a child. Getting very good at both. Quietly hollowed out by the particular loneliness of a man who controls a great deal of what happens around him. And has no control at all over the thing he wants most. Which is for his son to never know the weight of what his father does. He does not think about this. He is not a man who thinks about things like this. Until a doctor with tired eyes and a steady voice says, he's going to be fine. And it lands in his chest like something he didn't know he'd been waiting to hear. He takes Daeho home the next morning. His son is chatty about the hospital breakfast. Falls asleep in the tar with his head against the window. Sunlight doing things with his hair. Ryu Seonghyun's throat gets tight. He sends flowers to the pediatric ward. Anonymous. Expensive. He tells himself it is professional courtesy. Then he asks one of his people about the doctor. His associate Hwang Ji-yeon has worked for him 8 years. She has seen many things, reacted to almost none of them. Exactly as long as someone pauses when they are being careful. Dr. Imani Osei, pediatric attending, 7 years at St. Raphael, Johns Hopkins before that. Published twice in the New England Journal. She adds a beat. Currently under formal performance review, initiated by her department chief, Dr. Frederick Crane. Ryu Seonghyun is quiet. For what reason? Crane filed a complaint. He's claiming she exceeded her authority during a critical intervention. Administered treatment without proper documentation. He knows what night that is. He was there for it. She saved a child's life. Yes, Ji-yeon says, she did. The quality of his silence shifts. Ji-yeon, who has worked for him 8 years, recognizes the shift. Find out everything about Crane, he says, and everything about what they're doing to her. What Ji-yeon tells him 2 days later is the shape of a machine. The performance review is the 3rd in 18 months. The first 2 dismissed. This one escalated to the board. Language about insubordination, language about chain of command. A careful and deliberate absence of any language about the child, who is currently at home, drawing pictures of his dog, and breathing without difficulty. Crane is the son of a board member. 14 years at St. Raphael, never a disciplinary review. 3 nurses filed informal complaints in the past 2 years, about his conduct. All 3 were quietly transferred. Ryu Seonghyun sits with this for a long moment. He thinks about her hands on his son's chart, the speed of her, the certainty without arrogance, the voice that said, he's going to be fine, like it was just fact. He thinks about the lines he has drawn, the ones he lives within. He makes 3 phone calls, all to different people, all very short. If you are watching this story right now and you have not subscribed yet, do it. Right now. Hit the button, hit the like, because what happens next is going to change everything, and you do not want to miss a single second of it. Imani finds out about the board meeting on a Tuesday from her colleague Priya, who delivers the news with the specific expression of someone carrying something heavy. They moved it up, Priya says, next Thursday. Imani sets her coffee cup down, very carefully, so she doesn't break it. Crane submitted supplementary documentation, patient outcomes analysis. He's framing the Ryu case as a near miss that was mishandled. Imani is quiet for 1 second. The Ryu case is a child who came in with a medication interaction that would have caused respiratory failure within 20 minutes if she hadn't acted. She keeps her voice flat and technical because the alternative is anger, and she learned early what righteous anger costs a black woman in rooms like these, closed doors, every time. 11 days before the board, 40 cases on her rotation, a mother in Accra, she calls every Sunday, who does not know any of this is happening, and a cat named Mango, who sits on her medical textbooks with spiritual contempt for the profession. She does not have a lawyer, she has the truth, which is clean and total and thoroughly unhelpful in the architecture of institutional power. She knows how this works, she has watched it work her whole career. A man with a title and a family name on a board donor plaque says one thing. The woman with the better record says another. The institution weighs them. It does not weigh them equally. It has never weighed them equally, and the weight on her side keeps getting heavier while the scale stays tilted the same direction. She starts pulling records at 11 at night. Her apartment is small, warm, crowded with books, the walls holding the particular energy of a mind that never fully stops. She finds a pattern in the 17 piles on her dining table, the transferred nurses, the informal complaints, 2 other residents who will tell the same story about Crane. A scrub technician who left the hospital 14 months ago for reasons she described to HR as personal and which were not personal. There is a date on the transfer paperwork and a date on a complaint she filed 2 days before it. They are not a coincidence. Nothing in this stack is a coincidence. This is not a case of one bad man. This is a case of a system that protected him because protecting him was easier than being honest about what he was. She has seen it before. She will see it again. Tonight she is just deciding what to do about this particular iteration of it. Her phone rings at 1 a.m., unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. Something makes her. Dr. Osei. The voice is low, male, Korean accented, calibrated. My name is Ryu Seonghyun. You treated my son. She is very still. Yes, she says. I understand you're facing consequences for that. She should hang up. She knows what his name means, knows the silence that surrounds it. She has done the search, read between the lines. What kind of help do you have in mind? She says it carefully. A very good lawyer, and documentation that was misfiled, routed away from where it was supposed to go. I'm not offering to bend anything. I'm offering to straighten what was already bent. She closes her eyes, one hand on the incident reports. Send me the lawyer's information. She says it clearly. I'll call and make my own assessment. If I use her, it's my decision and my case, not yours. Understood. And if at any point this involves anything I can't stand behind, I walk. Also understood. She ends the call, sits in her bright, small apartment, Mango pressing his face into her elbow. The city outside doing its ordinary things. And she lets herself think about what she has just agreed to. Then she picks up her pen, goes back to the reports, because there is work to do, and she has never once waited for rescue when she could be building her own case. The lawyer's name is Park Sun-young, glass-walled office downtown, a handshake like a closing argument. She meets Imani the next afternoon, asks 2 questions. Tell me what happened, from the beginning, every detail. Imani tells her. Park listens, doesn't interrupt. When Imani finishes, Park says, what do you want as an outcome? Imani thinks, not what she'd settle for, what she actually wants, the record corrected, Crane's history on record, the transferred nurses' cases reviewed. And she pauses. I want this to mean something past my own case. Park polishes her glasses. Ambitious. I know. Park puts them back on. Good. Now let's talk about what we can prove. What they can prove is extensive. 3 misfiled incident reports. Recovered. Timestamped. Correspondence between Crane and a board administrator suggesting the escalation was coordinated before the formal filing. Statements from 2 of the 3 transferred nurses, who are willing to speak now, had been dealing with a counter-complaint. It evaporated in the past week. For reasons Imani doesn't ask about directly, because she knows the answer, and has decided to accept it. This is not naivety. She is not naive. She is making a clear-eyed choice. The system trying to destroy her has never once played by the rules it demands she follow. Ryu Seonghyun calls once during those 5 days. Not about the case. He calls to say Daeho drew a picture of her, wants to know if he can send it. She is completely caught off guard, the sheer ordinariness of it, landing in the middle of everything else. Yes, she says. Her voice does something she hadn't planned on. Tell him I'd like that very much. Daeho's drawing arrives the next day, by messenger. The figure that is supposed to be Imani has what appears to be 3 arms, which is either artistic ambition, or the honest rendering of how she appeared to a 9-year-old, watching her work with instruments in both hands, while also managing an IV line. In the corner, small and meticulous, is a creature she recognizes as President the dog. Rendered from verbal description alone. She puts it on her refrigerator. She feeds Mango. She goes back to the incident reports. The drawing stays. She does not examine why. Subscribe to this channel if this story is doing something to you. Because we are not even close to the middle of it yet. And the people who subscribed early get the whole thing. From the very beginning. The board meeting is Thursday morning at 9. Imani arrives in a charcoal suit she bought specifically because she needed to feel like certainty made textile. Park Sun-young is beside her in gray. They are early. Crane arrives 6 minutes later. 2 lawyers. The posture of a man who has never experienced a proceeding that didn't go his way. He looks at Imani across the room. She looks back. She doesn't smile. Doesn't look away. Holds the look long enough to communicate something that doesn't need words. His jaw tightens. He looks away first. Park presents their case with the precision of a surgeon. The incident reports, the timeline, the medication interaction, and the documented window in which Imani's intervention was not only reasonable, but necessary. The correspondence between Crane and the administrator, admitted carefully through the chain of custody Park has spent 4 days establishing. The statements from the 2 nurses, each piece placed deliberately, like a structure being built in the room in real time. Crane's lawyers are good. They are expensive. The word rogue 3 times. The word protocol 7. The phrase outside established parameters 4 times, with a particular emphasis of people who have practiced the phrase. They attack chain of custody. They attack motivation. They use the phrase personal vendetta twice, and let it sit in the air. Park doesn't raise her voice once. She doesn't need to. She has been doing this for 30 years. She has a very specific relationship with theatrics, which is that she doesn't use them because she doesn't need them. Because the facts arranged correctly are louder than anything an expensive lawyer can perform. Blessing testifies remotely. Face on a screen in the corner of the boardroom. Her voice steady in the way voices are, when people have been carrying something so long, they forgot what it felt like not to. She describes what Crane did to her. Specifically. With dates. With the particular specificity of someone who has been over this in their own mind, many times in the years since. What the hospital did after. What was filed. What disappeared. How the disappearance was explained to her. What she was told would happen if she pushed back. What actually happened. She is calm when she says it. The kind of calm that is not the absence of feeling. It is the result of a long time deciding whether to speak. The boardroom goes very quiet. The board chair, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses on a chain, and the particular expression of someone who has been waiting for a case exactly like this one, asks Crane's lawyers a question they don't have a good answer for. Then another one. The second one is slightly shorter. It lands harder. At 1:15, the board chair says they will recess for deliberation. Imani and Park sit in the corridor on a bench outside. Imani has her hands folded in her lap. Her pulse is doing things she is not fully in control of. The corridor smells like floor wax and recycled air, and nothing else. She grew up going to hospitals with her mother, who was a midwife, who believed children should understand early where life begins and sometimes ends. She has never been afraid of hospitals. She is not afraid now. She is waiting, and waiting has always been the harder thing. Do you eat? Park asks. I've been forgetting to. Park produces 2 granola bars from her bag. The air of someone who has been doing this long enough to plan for human fragility. It is, Imani thinks, the most companionable silence she has experienced in months. Her phone buzzes, from the number she now recognizes. How are you holding up? She looks at the message for a moment. Ask me in an hour, she types back. The response is immediate. I'll be here in an hour. She puts the phone in her pocket, eats her granola bar, watches the corridor, waits. The board reconvenes at 3:40. The findings are careful, specific, and they are hers. Dr. Crane's complaint is dismissed. The performance review struck from her record. The board acknowledges, in language Park negotiated word by word, the documented pattern of conduct in the department. Dr. Crane is placed on administrative leave, pending separate investigation. It is not everything. The nurses' cases will take longer. The culture that made all of this possible doesn't change with one board ruling. Imani knows this. She said exactly this to Park the day before. Park had looked at her with the particular expression of a person filing something under keep for later. But it is real. Documented. Hers. In the lobby, Priya hugs her hard enough to be structural. Blessing sends a message. Just 3 words, but the right 3. 2 of Crane's former residents show up in person, say nothing useful, mean everything by being there. Imani speaks to the journalist from the medical ethics publication, says clearly and on the record what happened, what it represents, what still needs to change. She does not perform humility. She is factual, specific, does not ask permission for the clarity of her own experience. Then she walks outside, into an afternoon that is cold and bright and ordinary. Her phone rings. Where are you? Ryu Seonghyun asks. Outside the building. She can hear traffic. She can hear her own heartbeat deciding whether to settle. Why? Because Daeho asked me to find out if the nice doctor won. She laughs before she means to. Short, sharp, real. Tell him yes, she says it. Tell him she won. He is quiet for a moment. The pause she has learned, over 2 weeks of unexpected calls, is the one where he is deciding how much to say. He says, dinner. Not as a thank you. As something I want. She holds the phone against her ear. The afternoon traffic, the ordinary city, the cold light that makes everything look specific and chosen. She thinks about what she knows about him. The full version. The real version. The parts that don't disappear just because he helped her. She is a practical woman. She knows what the word complicated costs when you try to spend it like it's simple. She also thinks about the drawing on her refrigerator. About the son who asked his father to find out if she won. About the voice at 1 a.m. that said what happened to you is wrong, in a way that meant it. I need you to understand something first. He waits. He is good at waiting. She has noticed this about him. Not performance. I'm going to keep being exactly who I am. That means I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to have opinions about the answers. I'm going to hold you to what you tell me and push back when I think you're wrong. She pauses. This isn't a warning. It's a description. The pause on his end is long, different in quality, the kind of pause that says a person heard something they needed to hear without knowing they needed to hear it. I understand. His voice shifts, something quieter in it. Then, you should know that I've spent a very long time in rooms where no one pushes back. What she hears under this, what 11 years of listening to what people mean under what they say hears, is a man telling her the cost of that. Then you're overdue, she says. Dinner. Yes, 1 syllable, carrying something she doesn't have a name for yet, but her body knows it. Dinner is a week later at a restaurant she chooses. Not expensive, not a statement, just warm food in a warm room where no one is performing anything. The kind of place that has been open for 20 years and smells like garlic and something slow cooked, and does not care about atmosphere, because the food is the atmosphere. He arrives exactly on time in dark clothes that are almost civilian. Almost. She clocks the quality of them the way she clocks everything. Fast. Filed away. He pulls out her chair. She lets him. The wine is good, the food is better. He is different here. Still with that gravity, that room-arranging stillness. But underneath it, visible because she is looking, because she has learned by now to look for the underneath of things. A man who has been carrying something very large and very solitary for a very long time. Quietly tired of doing it alone. She asks him questions. She said she would. She asks about Daeho first, which opens him like a window. His son is currently very interested in marine biology, has informed Ryu Seonghyun with complete seriousness that they need a fish tank. Ryu Seonghyun has spent 4 days researching fish tanks with the same intensity he brings to everything, and has crossed into a level of knowledge about saltwater filtration systems that his people find slightly alarming. There will be a fish tank. Its size will not be proportionate to the apartment. This has already been decided. She laughs. The real laugh. The one that breaks out without asking first, full and specific and briefly making her forget everything else. He watches her laugh with an expression she would describe, if she had to, as someone remembering what warmth feels like. Not remembering that it exists. Remembering what it feels like directed at him personally. Like it has been a while. Like it is something he did not realize he missed until this exact moment. She asks harder questions. She said she would. About his work. About the lines. About what the weight of it does to a person over 11 years of carrying it. He looks at her steadily when she asks this. Does not deflect. Does not redirect. The way he answers tells her he has never been asked it quite this directly. And that he is deciding to answer it anyway. He tells her the real shape of what he can say. Not all of it. Some of it belongs to other people. Some of it has consequences he won't hand her. But what is his to give, he gives. The way he built what he built. From what starting point. From what specific anger. The version of himself he can justify. And the version he cannot. And what he chose to do about knowing the difference. She listens the way she always listens. Like every word is a door she isn't going to miss. What she hears under Ryu Seonghyun is a man alone in his power, for a very long time. They close the restaurant. In the street after, the city is cold and lit with ordinary light. 10,000 windows. He walks close without touching. She is aware of the proximity, the careful restraint. She stops at the corner and turns. He is right there. I'm going to need time, before anything. Time to decide what I think about all of it. I know, I'm not easy. I'm not going to become easy. I'm not asking you to. His voice is low, certain. I'm asking you to let me learn what you are. She looks at him, the full look, all the current, all of it. She reaches up, presses her palm to the line of his jaw. Just that. Just her hand and his face in the cold night air. And she feels the way he goes very still. The breath he takes, slow and deep and barely managed. The most honest thing she has seen from him yet. Don't make promises, she says softly. Make choices. He turns his face slightly into her hand, lips to her palm. Brief, certain, devastating. That, he says, is exactly what I intend to do. He earns it, not through grand gestures alone, though there are those. The way things happen around her that she can't entirely explain. A security detail she doesn't notice for 3 weeks, until Priya points out the same black car. Always a block away. Always. Imani says nothing back. There is nothing useful to say. The first edition medical ethics textbook she mentioned once in passing. In a conversation that was technically about the Gord case, but drifted, the way conversations do at 11 p.m., when people are tired and honest. She mentioned it once. Did not repeat it. Did not say she wanted it. It arrives at her apartment by messenger 4 days later, wrapped in brown paper and string, with no note. She knows it is from him. She puts it on her shelf with her hands very still, and does not examine what she feels. The morning he shows up to her public lecture at the medical school, she is presenting to a room of residents on pediatric decision-making in high-pressure scenarios. It is not a glamorous event. It is a conference room with bad coffee and fluorescent lights, and 32 residents who are various degrees of tired. He sits in the back row, does not tell her until the lecture is over, finds her in the corridor after, says only that her work is extraordinary, asks for nothing in return for having said it. He earns it in smaller things, in asking questions and waiting for the full answer, even when the full answer takes a while, in not flinching when she pushes back, in learning slowly and visibly, and without pretending it's effortless, that she doesn't need to be managed, she needs to be met. These are not the same thing. He is learning the difference. She can see him learning it in real time, and that is, unexpectedly, the thing that moves her most. There is a night 6 weeks later, when she is at his apartment. All clean lines, dark surfaces, a very careful absence of personal things. The specific emptiness of a man who built a fortress against being known, and then forgot how to stop building it. She has taken Daeho's fish tank drawing off her refrigerator, framed it, a simple black frame from the shop on her corner, left it on his kitchen counter, without explanation, without announcement, without making it a moment. When he finds it, he stands there for a long time. She can see the line of his shoulders from across the room, something shifting in them, something settling. Then he says her name. The way you say a word when you have just understood what it means. She looks up from the book she is reading in his very clean and entirely inhospitable armchair, meets his eyes, and the thing that has been building between them, careful and strange and entirely real, finally settles into the shape it was always going to take. He is gentle in a way that surprises her, focused in a way that doesn't. His hands in her hair, careful, asking, the absolute opposite of everything the word handled has ever felt like. She feels the difference in her whole body, the distinction between being handled and being held. Later in the quiet, she lies against his chest, listens to his heartbeat, unguarded, and something in her that has been held carefully, not against him, but against everything, releases. I'm not done being afraid of all of it, she says. Neither am I, he says into her hair. She finds this more honest than any reassurance he could have offered. What happens after is ordinary and specific and theirs. Daeho shows her the fish tank, which is in fact enormous. He presents each fish by name and genealogy with the seriousness of a scientist and the enthusiasm of a boy who has been allowed to name 12 living things and takes the responsibility gravely. There is a fish named Dr. Imani. She asks Daeho why. He says because she has a lot of energy and helps everyone. She decides she feels good about it. She teaches him what she knows about oxygen content in water. He listens with the attention of someone who will report this to his father verbatim. He does, that same evening, while Ryu Seonghyun sits at the kitchen table and watches his son teach him something a doctor taught him. And something moves in his chest that is not the empire, not the work, just this, just these people in it. She returns to St. Raphael to find that blessing has applied for reinstatement. The systematic review Imani pushed for in the board ruling has opened 3 more cases. Things are slow and insufficient and real. 2 other nurses from other departments have come forward with their own documentation. A resident who left medicine entirely 18 months ago has called Park Sun-young directly. The wall, once cracked, keeps coming apart, slowly, in the way real things change. Not all at once, not cleanly, but undeniably. She says this clearly in interviews, doesn't ask permission for the complexity, says what is true and what is still unfinished, and what still needs to change. Says it in rooms where people are listening, and in rooms where they are not yet sure they want to. Says it anyway. Because the scrub technician who moved back to her hometown deserves to have someone say it. Because the 3 nurses who were transferred deserve it. Because Marcus in the pediatric ward deserves to grow up in a world where the doctor who saved his life is not punished for saving it. Ryu Seonghyun watches one of the interviews from a hotel room in Seoul where he is managing something that required his presence, and which he has been managing faster than he has ever managed anything. He texts her afterward. You were extraordinary. She texts back. You're biased. Come to Seoul when this is done. She stares at the message for a long moment. Ask me when you're home. He is home in 3 days. He asks her in the airport arrivals hall before he has cleared the barrier, which is not how he planned it. He had something considered in mind, something that matched the way she moves through the world, measured and true. But then he sees her standing just past the barrier, in a yellow dress, with her hair loose for once, and all the measured planning evaporates in approximately 2 seconds. Come to Seoul with me, he says. Right there, in the noise and movement of an international terminal. She laughs. The real one. You already asked me that. You said ask when I'm home. I've been home for approximately 40 seconds. Yes. He steps closer. Imani. Just her name, but the way he says it, like a thing he came back for. She looks at him. All the current. All the months of it. Seoul, she says. Yes. She holds up one finger, but we negotiate everything else. His face breaks open. The warm thing. All the way this time. Everything, he agrees. He takes her hand. She lets him. On a Sunday evening, 6 months later, in a room filled with the people they have separately and together become, she signs her name beside his, on something simple and permanent and true. Afterward, he finds her at the window. Always the window, always the city below, its ordinary noise and crisis and life. He stands behind her, his arms around her, and for a long time, they are just still. I keep thinking about that night, she says. In the hospital. I almost didn't go down to the 3rd floor. He is quiet against her hair. But you did, he says. She turns in his arms, looks at him with the specific clarity of a woman who has earned every inch of the ground she stands on. We did, she says. His face does the thing she has catalogued and treasured. The warm thing. The fully human thing that emerges from under all the architecture when she says exactly the right true word. We, he agrees. Outside, the city breathes its ordinary breath. Inside, between two people who found each other in the space between a child's difficult breathing and the particular courage it takes to walk into a room where something is wrong and fix it. Something permanent and impossible and entirely theirs, continues, quietly, specifically, to live. Welcome to Afro-Korean Diaries. Please like, share, subscribe, because this story was built for people who believe that showing up matters, that the woman who answers the call at 3 a.m. matters, that what gets buried can be raised, and that sometimes the most dangerous man in the city is the one standing in the back of your lecture, making sure you get home safe.